wedding in Cana of Galilee, and through his Spirit he is with us now. The Bible teaches us that marriage is a gift of God in creation, a means of his grace, a holy mystery in which man and woman become one flesh. It is God's purpose that as husband and wife give themselves to each other in love throughout their lives. They shall be united in that love, just as Christ is united with his church. And the vows you are about to take are to be made in the presence of God, who is judge of all and who knows all the secrets of our hearts. Therefore, if either of you knows a reason why you may not lawfully marry, you must declare. Will you take Ruth to be your wife? Will you love her and comfort her and honour and protect her, and forsaking all others be faithful to her as long as you both shall live?
I will.
Ruth, will you take Mark to be your husband? Will you love him and comfort him, honour and protect him, and forsaking all others be faithful to him as long as you both shall live?
I will.
There's a section, a beautiful section actually, for all of us here now. And after I've said these words, I'd like you please to respond nice and loudly. We will, we will. Okay. Will you, the families and friends of Mark and Ruth, support and uphold them now in their marriage and in the years to come?
We will.
Truly affirmed. Very special and truly affirmed.
It was good earlier on today to welcome you all to this double but related celebration for Mary and myself. And thank you to all of you for making the effort to be with us, as we know many of you have travelled great distances. So, why a double celebration? Well, firstly we're celebrating after quite a few false starts that Ruth, we are almost certain, has finally left home. And for that, a very big thank you to Mark. And that, of course, brings us to the second part of this celebration, the marriage of Ruth and Mark. It was some time before we realised that Ruth actually had left home, because she has been with Mark for a while. First it was the odd evening when she didn't come in, and then it was the odd day, and then it was the odd suitcase, followed by the odd week. And I suppose it was suddenly a time when Mary and I realised we hadn't really seen Ruth for about 4 weeks. So we are very grateful to Mark. We now have a liberated spare room, which has taken us a long time to achieve. Occasions like this always bring back memories flooding back. And it's been really surreal for the last couple of weeks. I can remember quite clearly when I was about 10 or 11, being at Ken and Rita's wedding, and then being at Christine and Trevor's. And I can remember all of them, Chloe, Don, Jen, being at our wedding, and then the christening of Ruth. And it's really strange in the sense to be here when I can quite remember sitting down listening to Owen talking and the others. And it makes me realise that I'm getting old. And although I'm not quite up to where Leonard Cohen was, in the sense I ache in the places I used to play, I'm at least getting twinges now in some places I didn't realise were there. But that's part of the thing you have to get used to. Well, I said I remember people coming to the christening of Ruth. Well, the birth of Ruth was really a great blessing for us, because we'd been told for quite some time that we couldn't have children. And we'd gone through all those tests you have to go through. They prod you, they push you, they blow down tubes and things like that. And the greatest I don't think I should say that. And the greatest indignity necessity, of course, I had to, every morning, about 6 o'clock, fill this damn bath with cold water and sit in it for about 10 minutes. Now I have to say, if you want some way to develop passion and ardour, sitting in a cold bath at 6 o'clock in the morning for 10 minutes, I do not recommend. However, it may well have worked, because in 1984, January, gave birth to a lovely little girl. It was quite traumatic, actually. We'd never been in this situation before, and we went to the hospital early in the morning, and it wasn't until late afternoon, and they strapped one of these heart monitors onto Mary's stomach so we could monitor Ruth's heartbeat. But ever so often it kept moving, so the heartbeat kept disappearing, and I started panicking, you know, thinking all terrible things. But round about 7 o'clock, we had rather, I was going to say pretty baby girl. She wasn't very pretty at that stage. Afterwards, when she'd been cleaned up, she was. But at that stage, she wasn't. And then something followed, which was quite remarkable. I went back to the local pub in Sharnford, called the Countryman, and in those days the landlord there was notorious for not giving free drinks. You stood a better chance of getting a sandwich rather than a free drink from Cyril. But that night, we had a great night. He broke out whiskey he kept for years, and eventually I arrived back at home. Well, I assume I did, because I woke up at about 7 o'clock in the morning. I was lying on the bed. Our cat was lying across our neck, as it used to. There was a half-eaten chili con carne on the side. All the lights were on and the radio was blazing, and the front door was open. And I'm told I'd had a very good time. And I think I had. Ruth actually was quite a good baby. We didn't have too much trouble. We didn't have too many sleepless nights, and I got into terrible trouble with my mother, because when she was about 2, and the picture's over there, we took a picture of her with a glass of Beaujolais Nouveau. And when my mother saw this, she was totally disgusted. And I got one of those lectures that mothers enjoy giving at times, telling me how I was causing trouble and how Ruth would end up as an alcoholic because of what I was doing. Also, as a baby, Mary insisted on wrapping Ruth up as tightly as you could believe. Her room was also warm. It wasn't so much warm as a furnace. And even now, she has to be in a red-hot room. And I blame her mother for that. It was nothing to do with me. And in fact, you know, she was so hot once, we had to take her to the doctor because she had a heat rash from where she was. That's perfectly true, isn't it? Sam and Ruth have always been quite supportive sisters, but when Sam was born, it came as a bit of a shock to Ruth. And despite buying her a little doll she could look after and bath it, she looked at Sam as a sort of an intruder for quite a while. It never got to the stage where she wanted to bath Sam and hold her under the water, but there were slight difficulties. Anyway, those all soon disappeared and they became very good sisters. But we unearthed a video about 3 or 4 weeks ago where Sam's having a party and a present, and Ruth is being incredibly bossy. Incredibly bossy. Which explains now why the tables have been totally turned and Sam always mercilessly bosses Ruth and tells her what to do. And if you were listening, she was trying to tell me what to do a while ago. So, but Ruth actually was very little trouble. She was very hard-working. She enjoyed her sports, and then boyfriends came along. And we went through that phase where you wake up on a Sunday morning and you find sort of semi-cozy comatose bodies lying around the house, in various states of undress. Sometimes with a head in a bucket or a bucket nearby. And so we were always apprehensive when a new boyfriend was announced. And we were very good though, we followed the rule, you never say anything till you finish with them. And so they would be introduced and you would smile. And a few came and gone, and despite the boyfriend, Ruth did well and worked hard. And then just towards her A-levels, Mark appeared on the scene. Now I can't quite remember the chronology. They suddenly met through sound connections with young farmers. And I can remember Mark turning up and taking Ruth to a motor show. And then on another occasion, he turned up while we were having lunch and said he had lunch, but despite that, actually managed to eat another 3 courses. At the time, I thought he was being polite, but I now realise he wasn't. It was just sheer appetite. We liked Mark for several reasons. One of which was when he arrived, he didn't have a toilet chain hanging from 2 pockets of his coat, which actually was a huge improvement on some of the people who had ended up on the doorstep. However, at that time, I think Mark was going down to Cornwall and Ruth was going up to Middlesbrough, and it sort of just gently fizzled out. And we were surprised when Mark suddenly reappeared on the scene about 3 years ago. But we were told, as one is told as parents eventually, they kept in touch.
Traditionally, that I'm supposed to say a bit about how Ruth and I met, which was kind of covered in Timothy's. But I think I'll go into a little bit further of the detail how we first met. This is when we started going out. But there's a certain friend of mine who's not sitting too far away, had fixtures on Ruth's younger sister, and persuaded me that her older sister had seen me somewhere, so we should go out on a double date. But when he told me this, I was actually coming back from a golf day. And I was fully up in my DJ, I was looking very spectacular and nice. And my friend happened to be a farmer who hadn't quite finished his work that day. So when picking him up, I'm in my DJ, he's in his overalls. And we said, let's go and pick these 2 girls up, that'd be great. So we went and picked these 2 girls up, who I'd never seen, and yes, we went to the most romantic place in the world, as you can all imagine, a field. Because said farmer had actually not finished his work for the day, so we'd actually got to suspect the rest of these bales onto a trailer. So, younger sister disappears and leaves us 2 sitting in my car. Never seen each other before, just chatting away. So we decided, oh, let's play some music. So Ruth there goes, oh, let's have a look through your music collection. Crap, crap. And that's not changed to now. My taste in music, or her assassination of it. And then later on in the evening, this carries on, they eventually finish their work. We also then decided it would be a good idea if the girls had a go at hitting golf balls in the middle of the night in this field. Which I remember Ruth was not so great at, but Sam was pretty good at. But she never went and fetched the balls, so I still expected to hit golf balls. But that is how we first met, and that was a very long time ago. That was when Ruth was about 18. But then we did go our separate ways and just kept in touch. So it's always worth keeping in touch.
Just in case.
Just in case, you never know. Right, just like to say some thank yous. I'll just start with my parents. Leslie, Graham, for those who know them. Or as I love to call them, the old man and mad mum. This is fairly normal, although somebody doesn't approve of me calling the old man at work. But joking aside, I mean, I think both myself and my sister have been brought up very well by my mum and then dragged back by my dad. Done very well. So thank you very much, guys. Right, moving on to Ruth's mum and dad. Wow, what is that? I obviously did take some lessons from Tim in speech making. He's very professional at it. But really, this week, the last couple of weeks, Mary and Tim have gone above and beyond the call of duty. I mean, to say that Ruth was in fits of tears when she saw her entire pile of ironing finished, the grass cut. And I was delighted, as Tim said, when I found a very, very nice stew and fish pie in the fridge, all ready for reheating to keep me fed. So, guys, thank you very much for all that you've done in the last couple of weeks and everything else, and for doing a great job of bringing up at least one lovely daughter. I just got on to my little big sis and her partner Mark, who was sitting over there in the corner. Just to say, they have made us what was asked to be a cheesecake, which is now turned into a cheese tree. Anyone going to ask me what a cheese tree is? Yes. I haven't a clue. But we're all going to find out later, and hopefully it'll be lovely. And along with that, my sister has made some lovely fudge and some date slices, which I think the recipe is courtesy of my grandma. And there was some Turkish delight, but that didn't make it.
Sorry, Tim.
Alright, just another thanks. Right, well, joking aside, I'd just like to thank Laura and Sam, our bridesmaids for the day. They've been great over the last couple of weeks. Sam especially, just thanks for being my partner in crime in my little setups. It's looking very lovely in her new necklace, which she didn't know about till this morning. So thank you very much, guys, and you looked absolutely lovely today. Right, I've only got 2 little bits left to go. So, it says another one of the things that I'm supposed to cover in my speech is to try and make my new wife cry. But without any sentimental drivel. But as most of you know Ruth quite well, I'm sure she's cried enough today already. So I think I'll get that next. But in all seriousness, the reason that I asked Ruth to become my bride is that I couldn't imagine life without her, and I love her the way in which we can complement each other. And lastly, a little bit of an introduction for my best man, Paul. Paul is a great guy. The only slight drawback, he does live in a bit of a parallel universe. He's been sunk in academia for far, far too long, which causes him to invent fanciful stories. He really does believe these stories to be true. And I thank you for humouring him and applauding him in the right places during his speech.
Personalities that may or may not speak volumes about the character of the man that Ruth is now married. I've known Mark for many years, since we were young kids in Menorca, which is a great holy island we used to go to for 3 weeks every year. And yeah, as both Mark and Tim have alluded to, Mark has always had a bit of an enjoyment of food. Started from quite a young age, and a particularly good example of this, I can remember back when my parents used to go out with Mark's parents for grown-up meals, and they used to leave us a bit of money to go to get takeaway and chips across the road. I remember one evening we decided not to go out to Dun and took ourselves to the other side of the resort, to one of the finest fine dining restaurants, aged about 9 or 10. Asked for a table, which I think the waiting staff assumed we'd be followed by parents soon enough. But yes, no, we had a very civilized dinner with a lot of friends, and he managed to budget the meal well enough to tip the rather amused waiters for not questioning the creditworthiness of primary school children turning into the rest of the
I hear babies cry.